Next up, we have a session on converging paths, AI and ESG in the modern world. This session will be delivered by Mr. Shailesh Thyagi. Mr. Shailesh leads Deloitte South Asia's climate change and sustainability practice, bringing over 25 years of experience. He has established advisory services for the Big Four and major sustainability consulting firms across Australia, New Zealand, and India. He also played a key role in supporting Deloitte Sri Lanka, Thailand, Indonesia, and Singapore. Mr. Shailesh has served on the task force on climate-related financial disclosures panel, developed fugitive emissions guidance for Australia's mining sector, and he led the creation of India's first sustainability assurance standard. I kindly invite Mr. Shailesh on stage to deliver the session.
I hope you all can hear me. I'm the only guy who's standing between your coffee. So I'll make sure I make it interesting. And first of all, thank you for having me. Love Maldives. Me and my wife from Australia flew to Maldives for our honeymoon. So fond memories. She's still with me, so fond memories. All right. What an event. Congratulations to you all. I'm an engineer who also comes from the world of accounting, which is a weird combination. And that's why you heard when I was introduced as someone who came up with the audit standard, right? Coming from Australia, heavily regulated, everything is reported, everything needs assurance. You increase your greenhouse gas emissions, you have to safeguard, and you need to make sure that you get a reasonable assurance in your data, right? So your world of accounting is absolutely important. Let me tell you how important you guys are for my career. The guy I reported to was an accountant called Nick May, Deloitte chairman. Learned a lot under him. Then my second boss, again an accountant, Brad Pollock, Deloitte partner. For some reason, my best buddy, Paul, accountant, right? So you guys are absolutely in the right session. AI, look, I'm a robotics engineer, right? Started my career in '98 in this space. Absolutely understand how sensors, controlling technology as an enabler, as a foundational technology works. But think about, it's a great success. We are not today talking about AI as a big algorithmic success. We are talking about its application in ESG and to the businesses and the industries, right? That's what we are doing here. And I think my session, the second last session, if I'm not wrong, for today, for as part of the 2-day session, brings whatever we have heard from people together, right? What I heard about Global Reporting Initiative, absolutely great. We heard about, from the professor, what sustainability means for the audit world as part of the audit reporting. But let's talk about what sustainability really means. How many of you really understand the word sustainability? Raise your hands, please. Feel free. What it is? Yeah. Okay, but still I would say 10% hands, right? I tell you why. After I'm going to explain to you how sustainability works, you can explain to anyone. This event is a classic example of how sustainability works, right? So let's talk about ESG and this event. All right, how this event was even made possible? We needed money, financial capital. Thank you, right? We needed money, right? Very well understood. You can pick up annual report of any company and you know how well they are doing, whether they have the money or not. Simple, very well understood over the years. But then, can you really run this event or any company without people? That's the S component. Basically, human capital, employee attraction, retention. You want to keep them, you want to recruit them, you want to track what they say on Glassdoor when they leave. Absolutely important, right? Then, so we have people here. But how these people came in? I didn't know CA Maldives. That was a relationship people had here. My colleagues. That's the social capital. You bring the relationships, you bring the people, that's why I'm here. And then, I give you today's example. To come here, I had to go and meet a client with my colleagues. To manage the impact, rather than taking 3 cabs to the location, what we did, we took 1 cab and picked up my colleague and then went. That's about managing the impact. Sustainability is not about reporting. Sustainability is not about understanding planting some trees. It's about making a business case for sustainability for businesses and making businesses work for sustainability. Right? How about I tell you that we helped entire country plant mangroves and make a business case for it. The impact, of course, was an outcome. Right? Sustainability is not about one standard. No, it's not about one standard. Sustainability is deeper. You need to bring in every single expert like you and identify how to run a business. When I help companies, I partner with human capital experts. I partner with circular economy experts. I partner with accountants. I partner with industry experts in technology, AI, right? So think about sustainability. We all have a role to play. If someone comes and tells he's an expert, she's an expert, even I'm not an expert. 25 years. The only thing I can do is pick you up in Uber and drop you home or work in sustainability. I cannot do anything else. And even I'm saying I'm not. Because it's an evolving field. It keeps changing. Right. So look, just to put things in order, we have certain slides and I make it very practical of some live examples of AI, how ESG works. Alright, so as a preamble, if you look at, the topic here is ESG and AI. And first I'll tell you how I use AI day to day to help companies, right? I'll make it very practical. Let's do a role play. I'm here to tell you are one of the biggest companies in the world. You have called me here and you want me to tell how I can help you on ESG. Oh, I won't give a presentation on AI. AI will be integrated in my offering to you. And I'll prove to you in a minute. So, you tell me, Shailesh, tell me how ESG, where I stand on ESG. Question number 1. And I'll say, okay, I have experts who can go in and benchmark your company against 100 odd companies globally, locally, regionally. But then, the smart audience, you say, why 100 companies, Shailesh? Why not 14,000? I'm like, oh, okay. Then suddenly I say, I need AI-powered natural language processing capability, which can scrap information from any interview, past and present, any report, sustainability or not, and give me real-time information. Right, so I need AI. It's a necessity, right? How much work 20 experts from MIT can do it. We need experts, right? But we need experts to analyze that information which comes out. Once I've given you that, then you would say, no, but Shailesh, why only in my sector? Give me pockets of excellence from all the sectors. Right? Identify social. Who is doing the best in social globally? Again, AI powered, right? Once that information has come in, I want to make sure advanced analytics come in, right? Gen AI, right? Deep learning. I analyze the information and present to your board on a quarterly basis automatically. No manual intervention. Right, done. Then you want to write a very clear strategy for your business and you want to make a plan. How many of you have heard about net zero? Exactly. What is net zero? When I started my career, I used to tell people carbon neutrality. The first bank in the world, Westpac in New Zealand, I was the partner who led that work. And they were the first bank in the world to carbon neutral in 2008. But now, I don't talk about carbon neutrality. I talk about net zero. What is net zero? Think about, there's a global carbon account, right? And the world is moving towards 1.5 degrees Celsius, limiting the temperature rise, 1.5 degree. How much you are allowed to emit? It's like a carbon budget. And you need to do scenario analysis. When you create those scenario analysis, you need a plan. That's net zero plan. Countries have announced, companies need to assign themselves that target. But how to track that you are doing? You can use AI. You can literally track AI, so simple English language, type it into regenerative AI, and you get all the outputs. But how much you're tracking? Where I need to put in variable frequency drives, how well I'm doing on renewables, how well I'm doing on other aspects. It's all technology driven now. So with that backdrop, trust me, this is the way it's used every single day when we help clients, right? 200 people, 6 partners in my team when they do this across South Asia. They use AI on every day, single basis, every single day basis. Auditors, when we do audits, how you make sure the data you get is quantifiable, complete, repeatable from enterprise solution and silos. How can you do that? You can't do it without AI. Not in this space, trust me, impossible. Right? Half of the time, people call me saying, "Oh, how I convert units to megawatt and all?" I get these kind of questions. Sometimes I'm like, okay, and sometimes I say, "Oh, I got this 5 set of information from a processing unit." I said, "Okay, what was sitting behind that processing unit? It was an orifice plate, or it was an instrumentation. Whether it was calibrated." It goes technical. I'm telling you, very technical, and that's where sustainability is important that we all come in, right? All right. So what we have here, with that backdrop, you understand how sustainability fits in. It's complex. Means we need to bring in experts, right, from various streams. It's not sustainability is not about reporting. I want to remove it. Reporting is done by market people. No one needs to understand the regulations and frameworks. It's all available on Google. It's more than that. It's about creating systems and processes for the clients, having the strategy, having interventions, and reporting is an outcome, right? So think from that angle. Now, so what we are covering today, why ESG is important, I think I've already covered that. What are some of the challenges in ESG and the role of technology? How you can navigate those challenges? Some of the use cases in E, environmental sustainability, on the social side, social responsibility, and corporate governance, ESG governance. What is ESG governance? It's not corporate governance at all. Because companies sometimes say, we have very strong corporate governance, right? That's definitely helps. ESG governance, tell me whether the right person with at least 20 years of experience driving ENS. If it's not, I will question it because it's complex. So that's ESG governance I'm talking about. When it comes down to limitations, yes, look, we talked about ethics, we talked about analyzing the information. Your data, your AI is only good at the data. When I look at sustainability for large listed companies, it's easy because data is available. What about small set of companies, SMEs? The data isn't there. If data isn't there, AI won't help you. That's one of the limitations, right? And how you're analyzing that information, practical challenges. And then human expertise, absolutely. You need ESG experts who work with AI experts to come together and then apply this integration. All right. What is the significance of ESG? Why it's important? Look, if you see this slide, there are a lot of surveys and analysis done by technology firms. You can pick up Oracle survey across 15 countries. You can pick up Deloitte surveys. There are 3 messages which are coming out loud and clear. Companies understand that with better ESG performance, it leads to your risk management, your valuation, loud and clear, right? If you just Google Morgan Stanley Composite Index, if you just Google it, Morgan Stanley Composite Index analysis on developed and developing market on ESG, you will see for 4 years they did a study on developed and developed market both to have this correlation. What is MSCI? A rating agency. Analyze on ESG performance, apart from, of course, what you know Morgan Stanley for, MSCI for. And you will see that if you improve your ESG rating, ESG performance, it improves your valuation. Right? Okay. Once you do that, then you realize the need for ESG reporting driven by a software and technology is becoming more and more important. Why? More and more process and data governance requirements are coming in from your world of accounting. I'm trying to balance, right? From your lens, you want maker-checker mechanism. You want a clear audit trail. You want standard operating procedures, like SOPs. And if you don't have that information, manually getting that information is a challenge. So you want to press a button and the report should come in. Right? So more and more technology and softwares are coming in. Now, people tell me, great, those things are happening, the growth is happening, I can see 13 to 30%, that's the annual growth. It makes a business case for companies, right? Accurate data, real-time data, transparency. I've already covered that. On the left-hand side, look, as much as I can talk about what governs in ESG, and you can see the key message is ESG is very sector and geography specific. When I talk to insurance firm as an example, they say, but Shailesh, my issues would be very different to a mining and metals company. Of course, absolutely. It's a great start. It's very different. When I go to an oil and gas company, they say, I want to become net zero. I'm like, are you sure? Because 90% of data sits outside your boundary. Can you get it? So it's sector specific, geography specific, very important that way. But what it entails, commonsensical stuff to start with. My questions would be, what is your energy consumption? Are you producing any energy? Okay. What are your greenhouse gas emissions? What's your pollution? SOx, NOx? Okay. Waste? Water? All right. Then tell me, employee, what programs you have for your employees? Right? You want to retain them? Do you really understand your supply chain? Okay. Do you interact with them? Do you have a supplier assessment criteria? Now, all this sounds familiar to you. Let me tell you one thing. Sustainability is not new. There was a company at one, I can name 100 companies later on, who thought they are doing nothing in sustainability. And when we analyzed their information, annual report, I'm not even talking about sustainability report, we spoke to them, we realized they were doing a lot. And I could prepare a GRI compliant report for them in 6 months. And they knew nothing about sustainability. You cannot run a business if you don't understand sustainability, or you're not doing anything about sustainability. So remember, so all these things, anti-bribery, life cycle assessment and all, is important. They are just enablers and tools. LCA. I'll give you one example of LCA then while I move to the next slide. You know, Woodside Petroleum, I was the long-term client, used to do their fugitive emissions, methane strip off from glycol radiation units, complex project, right? Oil and gas. Suddenly I came to know, someone questioned them, you're exporting carbon, right? You're exporting carbon to Southeast Asia. How you prove you're not? You do a life cycle assessment. Right from the source of Karatha, where it comes out, the gas comes out, and entire life cycle, LNG, think about LNG. And you map every single emission and you prove at the point of burning, it's still cleaner than the grid. So LCA is that kind of a tool, right? Talking about again insurance firms, when you talk to the BFSI sector, banking, financial services, and insurance, right? You talk about principles for responsible investment, goes without saying. Whether you're putting in money, you want to know which sectors you are putting in money because you are financing those emissions, right? From the world of finance, if you are giving money to a sector for new set of projects, you're controlling the funds. You want to know where that money is going. But why? Another reason you want to know the money, where the money, because your returns, you want returns, right? Think about, I can give you enough examples. If you just Google Iberdrola, a company, whether they got full returns for their investment, right? The gas project, still cleaner than other, you can say coal as an example. This concept of stranded asset coming. So you're investing money and you may not get the return for the entire period you have put in money. Right? The banks are absolutely interested in their carbon liability or the risk, physical risk, transition risk. So those are some of the sector specific issues. Now, technology. So what are some of the challenges in this space? Look, when we look at this, the whole ESG, one of the challenges I have seen, and these notes are literally from my own work, is I see a lot of diverse data sources, inconsistent formats, and that complicates not only getting the information, but data analysis and standardization. Means if you see, first challenge is data inconsistency and standardization. Absolutely challenging. Now, every country, every stock exchange has their own requirement. Right? If you go to any country, coming from Australia, mandatory requirements to report from the clean energy regulator as one example, right? National greenhouse gas energy reporting, right? New Zealand, I remember 2008, the first, you can say, a sector to come into emission trading scheme was forestry. I was helping clients in the forestry sector, right? Okay, then I realized stock exchange. Australian Stock Exchange came up with the requirement, supply you explained. We work with Singapore Stock Exchange, they came up with the requirements. I'm seeing in India over the past 3 years now, with CB coming up with the requirements. Then I realized someone calling me, I export to Europe, can you help me with the carbon price? The carbon border adjustment mechanism coming in. Then someone called me and said, there's an EU taxonomy, Shailesh. Can you tell me what Sustainable Finance Directive means there? Then my colleague Zara called me, looks after Maldives and Sri Lanka. IFRS S1, S2 has come in, and you were on the TCFD scenario panel. I said, yes, help me. So many requirements are coming in from everywhere. Do you really understand those requirements and how they really impact your value chain? Because sustainability is not about your operations anymore. It's about your investment and value chain. Do you understand those? Very complex. Now, risk assessment. Sustainability, there's a clear interplay, right, in sustainability. Now, can you really assess the risk if you don't really understand the ESG factors? If you don't have the data, right? Reputational risk. Forget about that. I'm not talking about physical risk, liability risk, transition risk for banking and FSI sector. What about reputational risk, right? Climate risk in scenario, very complex. So let me tell you, having been on the TCFD scenario panel and all that, I have a partner 100% dedicated to doing this stress testing and doing modeling on physical risk, transitions, reliability risk. It's a mandatory requirement in various countries nowadays. Why need an expert? There's something called greenwashing we heard. Right? I'm not talking about competency greenwashing. I will joke, right? The professor was there. I'm talking about, for that we have ChatGPT, right? To catch. I'm talking about real greenwashing, which is you don't understand your company and ESG and you report. And then you get caught, that's not even relevant for your sector and your operations. You have no data to back it up, right? Just Google fines under greenwashing in Australia and US. You get numerous examples, companies already being fined. You will even get guidance, in Australia at least, my home country I can talk about, they will tell you how to avoid greenwashing. This is the world I'm talking about, pretty mature. It's not something which is naive. It was when I started my career. I used to prove climate change is happening. Now I don't, no longer. Trust me. Alright, so, and of course, optimization goes without saying, reporting, which is an outcome, and then tracking, continuous monitoring. So I'll give you one example of this, right? What happens when you become old like me, you have practical example to tell people, right? I can name it, the Glencore, right? Glencore is a mining company. Their biggest underground coal mine is the Oakey Creek in Australia. They were reporting under carbon tax. Carbon tax, Australia came up with carbon tax. And you need to report your greenhouse gas emission with accuracy, reliability under a regulatory requirement, and you pay money for per ton of carbon dioxide equivalent, which is methane, all the 6 gases converted into equivalent. Right. Once you report, you need to pay money. And once you pay money, okay, then they realize, hang on, our systems may not be as advanced. Right? How I replace an orifice plate for engineers with Rosemount units, where the data will be more accurate, right? Those kind of instrumentation, and then using technology to analyze that information, right? So that's where technology has been helping the sensors and all forever. Now it's more about more advanced algorithms, right? And going through a series of steps to really make an impact. And we'll see what those are, right? So how technology is helping with this ESG, right? I talked about why. We talked a lot about AI, we talked a lot about technology. I would like to segment this into 4 areas. The foundational technology, the base, right? So what foundational technologies, if you see here, right? And I made sure that you all can read. It's a lot, it's quite big, right? Right at the back as well, hopefully. When you look at any analytics, when you look at any data collection and processing, which I talked about, and analyzing it so that you can report and comply with the regulations, that's foundational technology. And honestly, over the past 2 days, we have covered that to some extent, right? But once you have that, you need enablers, right? For example, I came up with a tool with Google and hosted on cloud, Google Cloud, and we look at it. So that's an enabling. How many of your phone have 5G? Exactly. That's an enabler. It's real-time connect. You can use it. Think about that application on the field, right? 5G. Blockchain. I am helping companies with blockchain track their value chain for at least 6 years now, right? So define technology in blockchain. That's what it is. It's an enabler, right? And what it does, it provides infrastructure and flexibility to you and provide predictive analysis or analytics, analyzes that information, right? Apart from data management, real-time data, and all that. Now, some of it we discussed, and I was literally made these notes last night because when I realized that what people are talking to connect, some people mentioned machine learning, right? This topic is about AI, and someone mentioned digital twins. I also heard the word optimizing operations. Now, what are those? They are strategic decision making and risk mitigation. It gives you information to strategize for planning, enterprise planning, right? So that's another segment, right? If you see there. And finally, sensing and control technology, basically my word, right? Robotics, drones, IoT, you real-time monitoring. Literally on a monthly basis, you can monitor. Think about how many of you have heard about ESG rating agencies? Okay, companies are rated whether you like it or not on a regular basis. Bloomberg portal, that analyst in Australia or Austria, I would say, is already analyzing companies in this country, in our country here, without the will, or we think sustainability is not important, already comparing that going to the investors. Bloomberg portal. MSCI already covered, right? And when we look at these rating agencies, how about you define the rating? Use technology to real-time monitor your peers and come up with your own rating scale. That's where technology comes in. I'll give you an example. I'm working for a large chemical company, and they called me and said, I have a big order. Ego Vardis, you could check his rating. Help me get this in this, improve my performance throughout the year so I can get that contract. I helped them. Then we kind of did a postmortem of their rating. Even after getting what they wanted, they questioned me saying, on this procurement I got less. Okay, great. I felt like my dad analyzing my own report card, right? A very strict guy, the CEO of a firm and went to Yale and all, very smart guy. Smarter than me, sadly. That's what happened. The guy was very smart, the CEO, promoter. I was very impressed with him. I said, okay. But you know what we found? We realized that when we looked at that, the rating side of it, he wanted me to predict the unknowns. In life, we have known unknowns, which I can analyze through AI, the sustainability reports, and tell him, please do this. He wanted me to predict unknown unknowns. How can you do that? I tell you how you can do that. You can do that through this technology. Because you know what are the 5 things companies in this sector, regulators in this sector are already doing. And I can tell him, look, investment, but this is what you need to do. And you can always stay ahead of the curve because these rating agencies change their criteria every year. Every year they change. It's like this set of 10 questions, I know that 10 they may change, I don't know. So that's where technology comes in. Alright, so when we look at, this is the way we define technologies, and we have talked about technologies a lot. Once we have done that, okay, how this can really help, right? Now we see this NLP in ESG reporting, right? Goes without saying, I mean, I remember when I started my career, it was a lot about manual, right? I will take 10 companies, you choose 3, I'll choose 3, I'll give you benchmarking. Old school of benchmarking, I'll benchmark you. I don't know how to use that word. I use the word AI intelligence, right? I use AI powered NLP processing to tell you what you need. You want to know what your company is doing? I'll tell you. You decide. Someone challenged me, I'm doing extremely well on employee. I had all the AI powered data on what employees were talking about who were leaving on Glassdoor. I just came. I didn't say good or bad. The CEO was not happy. But I said, look, I'm not saying this. This is what the analysts are analyzing you on. So with that, AI is a game changer. It has become a game changer in all the industries, right? Before we discuss specific application, we also need to understand the capabilities of AI in ESG, what it can really do, right? And the outcomes it can deliver. So if you look at this slide, it's about AI capabilities, right? So look, you can aggregate the data. AI excels in aggregating and standardizing vast amount of information. I remember working on tech implementation in a lot of companies, and I thought it would be like a piece of cake, not really. I realized they're using workflows, Salesforce ServiceNow, they have some Oracle application, they have SAP application, they have some of the IBM, some no connection. And for humidification, someone has to go and climb and take the information. Manual, very difficult. Safety data, occupation health and safety, investigations, that's manual. Some records, right? So how you really take that? So AI can really help you, some manual tags, some automated tags, but it can be done and help you make data-driven decisions. Already happening. So, as an engineer, we hear a lot about predictive management. But when I apply that to climate risk modeling, right? So, I got a call from this data center company saying, hey, help me with physical climate change assessment, physical risk. We hear a lot of flooding. Flooding happening, tell me what will the loss to my revenue because employees won't be able to come. I'm not even talking about risk to my site. Like, okay, what will lead to that in terms of productivity? Transition. Temperature rise is happening. Will I lose money through productivity of my employees? Yes, there's a report from Deloitte if you Google. Literally analyzing in your country, what will be the loss? GDP loss, I'm talking about. But we can't do it if you can't really model this. And then for the BFSI sector, what's the liability? You can do that. Value chain. Now, companies start, how many of you know scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, scope 4? Greenhouse gas emissions. Alright. Exactly. So, see, and I thought sustainability I've already defined. Let me define this because people use this term night and day, right? So my son was teaching me, he does some sustainability work in school, he's 14. He was teaching me what scope 1, scope 2 is. It was all wrong. I didn't tell him. But I decided that I should define. Scope 1, greenhouse gas emissions. Greenhouse gas emissions, when you report, are absolutely important. You consume energy, you emit greenhouse gases. Common sense. Absolutely. Unless it's the farts and burps in New Zealand, I'm not talking about those, right? They are also greenhouse gas emissions, by the way, right? Quite big for New Zealand. I'm talking about normal greenhouse gas emissions. I own a coal-fired power plant, right? And I burn coal. I buy coal, I burn it. That coal I have bought, equivalent emissions are scope 1. So they're my boilers, I'm buying the coal. Scope 2, I take electricity from the grid. Here, this is power from the grid. Scope 2. Right? I'm not controlling it, but I'm using it. I'm paying for it. Scope 3, the cab I took to attend this event from the airport. Right? Scope 3. And they have proper guidance on it. Greenhouse gas protocol and all that, ISO 14641. Enough guidance, guys. Enough. You just need to understand the concept, everything is available on Google. Scope 4. I come up with a product which helps me reduce emission throughout its life cycle. Scope 4. It's nothing to do with sustainability, it's greenhouse gas emissions. Right? Now apply this concept for value chain. Now you see there, value chain partner analysis. When we look at value chain, I want greenhouse gas data for my entire value chain. You can really analyze information through technology. The blockchain as a classic example. Fair trade, coffee, right? Diamonds. I do a lot of work in that sector, right? How you really get the information. And finally, natural language processing. When you look at that, what is how many of you understand natural language processing? What it is? Think about, I type in natural language. Is Shailesh a good man? Question mark. I don't know the answer, but if I can type and it can analyze and give me information, ESG is moving in that direction. You can type, am I on track to meet my net zero goals? It will tell you, yes, no, no, you're not. Oh, what can I do? It will guide you. This is where it's moving, right? Literally. And that's NLP, AI power. Now, what are the outcomes of AI integration, right? So, look, goes without saying. It helps you with better decision making. It helps you with effective risk management. You want to manage the risk. We talked about risk, right? What you don't know, you can't manage. You need to know and then you manage. Compliance. Because you have a report which is complete, which is specific to the point. Shakespeare said, brevity is the soul of wit. One thing I can give you a takeaway reporting is keep it concise. No one has time to read. No one reads. Keep it simple. What 5 things you are doing? Who gave you those? And how you're going to take care of them, the impact. And finally, operation optimization, right? Resource allocation, instrumentation, management, and output, and how you reduce those costs, environmental impact. Now, some use cases, right? Let's look at some very quick case studies. Now, how much time I have? Sorry, because I started late as well. I want to make sure. Oh, a lot of time. Thank you. Cool. So, what are some of the examples? And these examples are from our work, right? I told you that we do AI, we have a proper team of AI experts, right? I'm not the AI partner, I'm the ESG guy. I bring him in, I know the problem I have, I know where I need his help, but I need to tell him the problem statement. And he comes in, and for example, if I'm helping a data center in their ESG transformation, right? He comes in and tells me what others have done, right? Then only I can go and say, hey, look at through AI, I understand these 10 things companies are doing. Which one you want to do? Or you have something else. So one is information. The second comes down to, on the environmental side, whether I'm looking at energy efficiency or climate risk assessment, or I'm looking at urban planning, right? That's another field. I'm not talking about green buildings only. In that space, they have been using forever technology, right? But I'm talking about urban planning. So what am I looking at? Once I know that, for example, Google applied DeepMind's machine learning algorithm to optimize energy efficiency in this data center, right? Now, simple. Take the historical data, analyze it. You have neural networks, right? Thousands of sensors, they will train them, and they will predict the future energy needs. Think about the cooling systems and all that, right? How you can manage, right? Optimization. And this will help you in energy management. It will help you overall power usage factor, benefits, basically PUE effectiveness. Then you look at how you can link it to your sustainability goals and greenhouse gas emissions. That's exactly what we are talking about here. How many in this room are engineers? Okay, that's good. So I'm gonna make it simple now, right? Accountants are smarter than analyzing information. So let's use that. Way smarter than me. I'm a CFA as well, so yeah, respect me a little bit for that. Just kidding. Now, when you look at geospatial, right? I'll give you a classic example. I was doing climate risk assessment for a company. They wanted to know their on-site assessment of sea level rise. You may be hearing about Maldives, right? What's sea level rise? So what we did with Google, we used Google geospatial capability, came up with our own, which we are still working, to analyze that information, right? So that's a classic case of using AI platform through geospatial data and analyze the scenario planning and monitoring. Am I going to invest? Am I going to open an office there? What is the risk, right? Those kind of things. And the property sector and the insurance sector really look into those, right? Look into climate risk assessment side of things. At Deloitte, it's called Deloitte's Geospatial AI platform, which is powered by Google Cloud. So we are actually, I was instrumental in bringing that and working closely with Google on that. Not because it's a good thing to have. Trust me, looking at helping clients with the infrastructure resilience, urban planning I've already covered, and also assessing on the coastal side, coastal communities and all. I really needed that technology, right? So it's a necessity. When you look at social use case, right? When you look at social use case, it comes down to, look, there are a lot of examples we can take. You see a lot of the slide, I'll tell you one practical example. There's a company called Elastic Run, a startup. They approached me saying, hey, can you help me in environmental social governance? I said, all right. It's a unicorn now. I can take big names as well, but that company, for some reason I remembered. And they said, hey, listen, our core business model is sustainability. I said, what do you mean? Last mile delivery. Bringing small, you can say, stores which provide these rations, right? Together and align them so that people can have access both ways. You get the supplies, demand understanding using technology, and you provide that small place. I'm not talking about large retails, right? And we work with them. I say, your business model is sustainability. You're in remote locations, you are making an impact, right? That's one social example. I'm not. We can have agri. We can have low-income women. When you have CSR impact, think about investment. X money going into a company, going into a family with no earner, no earning member, and going into with one earning member. Right? You need to that data needs to come in to make an impact. Right? So that's a CSR work. And many countries have these mandatory investments nowadays where you can invest money in CSR and you need to assess the impact. It's not only World Bank at all. In many countries, X percentage of your profits needs to get into CSR activities. Right? So how you get that information? That's a social case study. Now, generative AI, it helps recruitment. I'm a big advocate of diversity and inclusion, right? Massive. And how you really bring those D&I capability to you, you can do it through technology. There's a social side in your company. Someone mentioned ethical consideration, right? How you really avoid bias in your recruitment? Technology comes in, right? And companies are already using these technology in companies. We use it, right? Your company does it as well, right? So think about ethical recruitment, inclusivity, think about emotional analytics for social enterprise, think about not only it's about financial inclusion. Right? All these concepts we know, but use technology for that. Lot of cases. Governance use case, right? Last one. So governance is all about who is responsible, who is deciding in ESG. What about fraud detection, right? How you really look at that? Use technology for that. And think about fraud from the lens of ESG, right? I talk about greenwashing as one example, but think about your information. I remember companies providing information very different year on year. And my tool got it, saying something is wrong. Did they provide the right information last year or this year, right? That's where the fraud is. Fraud is not talking about financial fraud. I'm talking about sustainability fraud here, which links to financial fraud in some cases, if there's a carbon tax or a greenwashing penalty. Think about optimization. How do you really optimize governance? Some companies tell me we have strong corporate governance. To improve our ESG governance, can you help me with data to optimize this? Means how do we align internal policies and procedures, and you can use NLP again for it, natural language processing, to do that. So numerous examples we have. One of the examples we help companies is real-time monitoring of policies, locally and globally. Real time. Companies call us, we want to keep a track on regulations and policies so that we are not missing, right? Rating agencies link CXO's compensation to ESG performance. I'm not going to the technicalities, but that's where you track what's really happening, right? But some of the limitations, right? I mean, and people covered, and some of the example I also have done. I think my challenge with AI has been bias and data quality. It has been. I get information from people. I got this nice email from a colleague the other day, not in this company, my previous company. Nice email. And I think the professor was talking about quite well, right? My previous session. He said, oh, he can't write that. It's so nice. I called him up and said, Mike, you write very well. Can you teach me? Yeah, you ChatGPT, sir. So like, all right, Mike. So AI systems are heavily dependent on the quality and integrity of the input data and the person who is inputting as well. Trust me, right? In ESG, think about not using ESG expert for that. You will get what you take. Trust me. And I have used people who have planted 100 trees and are experts in ESG, and I've seen their report. So very important that bias and data quality comes in, and this results into pervasive bias in hiring. Think about it in a company. Using AI, the person is not from HR. Think about your financial results and not an accountant doing it, right? You won't like it. Won't work, right? Some people just don't understand the context, right? If you see the culture, the social side of it. I remember when I had a weird challenge. I thought, and I worked in India, that is getting old. I'll fly from Sydney and meet people. I struggled. I remember I had a thick Aussie accent. I mean, I've changed a little bit now. I remember how I was as a kid in school. And first meeting I had with the biggest company in India, the relationship partner told me, can you, he didn't understand a word of what you said. 4 years ago, I'm like, okay. So, funny, but then, do I understand the culture? Am I talking to a promoter who is wise but doesn't understand English? Maybe. He understands that, he understands business very well, but he doesn't get that. So I have to go back. I give you a very funny thing. I go into public sector undertakings, I go like this. I never call anyone sir in my life, but I have to. Small things, right? Basics. But then, if you don't understand these cultures, how you use AI, how you use technology, this limitation will misinform your information, your analysis will be wrong. And finally, I'm not even talking about security and privacy risks, right? Cyber attacks and all, we already covered that, right? It's very important you understand the regulation and all that. Even as an ESG professional, I have to get certified data privacy and all. Certified, qualified, qualification. Absolutely important. Finally, last slide, 23 seconds left and a sticker for time. I try to finish things for time. What is human expertise needed in ESG? In ESG and AI? Some of the challenges we see, and this is based on experience, and I think I've already covered it. Human experts understand the requirements. They can analyze the output, right? And they feed the information. That's what I have covered, right? But then some of the ethical oversight and governance only you understand, right? Because when you write the final report, it's not an AI which will write, it will be you. Do you understand what you are telling the client to do or telling your value chain to do? How you interpret the information, how you decide, right? And already covered the culture and social and organizational context. But think about human judgment will help bridge the gap between quantitative data and qualitative insights. Very important in the sustainability space. Some people tell me, oh, it's more about thinking from the heart. No, I call myself a champagne guy by my mentorist. You have to make a business case for sustainability. I'm not a greenie, I don't plant trees. I make a business case for planting those trees. But then, still you need to have a heart, right, somewhere. Right? Qualitative and quantitative. I always give this example. When I got married, I told my wife, I have a heart, but then it's locked after I got married to you. It's all brain which works, right? Not really. In sustainability, luckily I'm able to apply my heart, right? So it's important that you do that when you analyze that information. Very important. I have given reports to clients, investigation, bullying and harassment. I have given, but you need to apply your heart a little bit there. What the context, should you understand? It's not the data. And then finally, think about adaptation, continuous improvement. Human expertise play a vital role in fostering innovation. You know, how you innovate, how you develop new applications. So, just to finish, I give you one example. I'm doing work for a large company at the moment, and they told me, I want to implement technology which not only automate reporting, not only tells the board every quarter the progress, but somehow also manage it. I said, what do you mean? He said, I want to automate it, but I want to review before it goes. I said, okay. Yeah. So think about this practicality. Because if I automate it and everyone has access to real-time sustainability reports, real-time, and you have no control on it, that's where human intervention is required. And this is the way the world is going, right? Look, that's all. Any questions, please let us know. Happy, I'm around. This is all I do, so I think I should be able to answer. Over to you, please. Any questions?
Thank you for a wonderful presentation. It's been really interesting and fascinating. I was curious because you've talked a lot about this real-time data, right? And we are in this kind of immediate need constantly. So how do we balance, as accountants, we have this review process and, the quality of data that you've mentioned. if you could gaze into a crystal ball, I suppose, like how do you balance, this kind of drive for immediacy and immediate data versus having that quality and review process?
Absolutely, great question. So what's really happening in your world of writing great reports by accountants, getting it review, limited assurance, audit, reasonable assurance? Three things which have come to my attention. Companies want real-time insights, but they want an accountant there who can analyze that information. Rather than getting end of the year, 9 months of data, they want quarterly data. They want predictive analytics to analyze where this data is going, right? And then they also want, based on the real, sometimes what happens, the data you get from the sites is not aligned to the real time, how the data is coming, right? You want standard operating procedures which are real to the factual, you can say, insights on the ground. So what auditors do, they have a maker-checker mechanism, right, in the system. So this data, if I'm providing, someone will review, and then it will go. And then we'll revisit it every quarter. Again next quarter, right? So real-time data comes in, but there are enough reviews by the experts, and the sign-off will be from the data provider on the ground. Right? So that's the way they are doing. The challenge is there, but in audit, absolutely important. Absolutely. Think about people write standard operating procedures. So I give you an example. I have seen instances where people write SOPs and they have no idea. End of the year, the third party comes in and those SOPs are not even relevant. I'm seeing that, trust me, and reasonable assurance, we need to have SOPs. So the second problem we have is accountants and engineers on the side, the plant managers need to work together. Very important, right? But for you, it's all about that maker-checker mechanism. Absolutely important, right? And the other thing comes down to linkage of this information. So in Australia, we had a mining tax once. Think about the carbon tax. How you link the two. Maybe you are providing some information through your carbon liability, how it links to the mining tax, how much you are really getting out of the ground. So these linkage also you need to bring in people. So that challenge is there. That's a great question. But people have been really smart. Accountants are smart, I told you. All my bosses were accountants. Not anymore, but they used to. So look, I know there are a lot of ESG and AI we have discussed, but look, this deck will be available to you. Have a look. What I have done, I've written it in a manner so you can segment whatever we have discussed over the past 2 days. Segmenting those technologies different because AI is just one technology, right? Right? They're the foundational decision making strategically. Just to give you a flavor and close it, I come from a very strong consulting background, right? Half of my life has been assurance and advising. That's why I understand audits quite well. Half of it is in consulting. The first thing I did after moving in this role, collaborated with my alliance partners. Think about Oracle, working with them on their solution, with SAP, with Salesforce and ServiceNow, because technology is the future. But they themselves can do it, no. They cannot. And we have to get it. And for anything related to audits or reviews, I need to bring in accountants from my team. Saying, hey, have a look. Whatever they're doing, it has that mechanism in place. Information will come in, how you do. So yeah, so it's a fascinating world, guys. And more auditors are getting into it because IFRS, alignment is happening. You are needed. You have to audit those information. If you don't understand the information, how will you audit it? And you don't understand from how technology plays a role, how will you do it? So, thank you.